Wednesday review series here on YouTube. My name is Leah. Each week we review a student submission for speaking or writing to our forum. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then at the end of this video I'll tell you how you can participate. Thank you to all of the students that submitted their work. As usual, we had a lot of great submissions this week. And today I would like to do a writing review. So let's go ahead and take a look at the question that was asked this week. This question asked whether you think students should have a long break between school years or whether they should go to school continuously throughout the year. And as always, it asks for reasons and examples to support your answer. Now, the submissions we received this week actually varied quite a bit in length, content, quality, but something that struck me was as odd was how dissimilar all of the introductory paragraphs were. So basically, for your introductory paragraph for the independent writing task, it should just be fairly simple, straightforward, not something that requires a lot of thought, and you basically want to follow a similar format each time, merely for the fact that you won't have to think about it if you follow the same format. So what I want to do today is tell you what that format is and help so that you can just start to knock out a really simple introductory paragraph and focus your time instead on what matters on the independent writing task, and that's the body content. Now, if you're familiar with the Noteful timing strategy, we actually recommend about 3 or 4 minutes for the introductory paragraph. But if you work with the 4 components that I'm going to recommend today and follow the template that we provide, you could probably cut that time in half, and you'll be able to free up a couple of extra minutes again to focus on what's important, which is the body content. Now, before we get into what those components are, I just want to show you a couple of examples of introductory paragraphs that we received this week. Now, the first thing that you can see is that they are very dissimilar in length. And in fact, both of these introductory paragraphs are fairly indicative of the length of these students' essays. So the first student, although he submitted a very good essay, actually wrote about twice the recommended word count. And that's very difficult to achieve in 30 minutes. So something to keep in mind if you're writing a lot of words is that you should really just focus on about 450 to 500 words and develop strong body content. Although this student did produce a good essay, I am a little hesitant to believe that it was done within 30 minutes because that is next to impossible, even for a native speaker. Now, the second student, as you can see, this introductory paragraph essentially consists of 1 sentence, and in fact, this student only wrote about half the recommended word count. So this is a fair submission. In either case, regardless of the word count, your introductory paragraph, like I said earlier, should be fairly similar each time. So this is just a quick strategy that you want to memorize, practice, and master so that you don't have to think about the introductory paragraph and you can use your time more wisely on the independent writing task. So let's get into what those 4 components are. Now, each of these 4 components represents 1 sentence. So your introductory paragraph, again, regardless of your word count, should be 4 sentences. Now, the first component, the first thing that you want to do when developing your introductory paragraph is simply state that the topic is important. Well, what is the topic? Just take a look at the question. Look at the nouns in the question that's being asked. In this case, it's talking about school. It's talking specifically about how the school year should be divided, but the topic is school. So we're just going to simply state that school is important. There are a lot of different fancy creative ways to introduce an essay, but on the TOEFL independent writing task, you don't need to put that much thought into it. Just extract the topic from the question and write that it's important, and I'll give you an example of that in just a moment. Now, the second component, the second sentence, should explain why it's important. So this is where you need a little bit more creative thinking because you're just going to elaborate on why that is. So why is school important? Well, it's important for a lot of reasons. So you can be a bit creative with this sentence, but again, don't give it a lot of thought. It's fairly simple. The third component, the third sentence, should just restate the question. Now, this might be challenging if you don't have a lot of practice converting questions into sentences. And I'll give you an example again in just a moment, but essentially you're just going to look at the question that's being asked and you're going to state it instead as a sentence. Now, the fourth component, also the fourth sentence, is perhaps the most important because this is where you're going to state your opinion. So this is the thesis. This is the last sentence of your introductory paragraph, should always be the last sentence. So you're going to state essentially your answer to the question that's being asked and then transition into the first of your body paragraphs. So now what I'd like to do is I'll keep these 4 components on screen and I'll show you the question again as a point of reference. But I want to give you an example introductory paragraph given this question that we asked this week. So let's take a look at the first sentence. School is a very important part of our lives. Now remember, I told you that you're stating that the topic is important. The topic is school. School is a very important part of our lives. Use it each time. All of the text in this sample introductory paragraph that is in bold, you can just go ahead and write down in your notes and start to incorporate this text into your introductory paragraph, so use it each time. So we've just simply stated that the topic is important, and now we need the second component, which is to elaborate a little bit on that. Now, because this question is asking about gaps between school years versus going to school year continuously, I just added a little bit of a comment about vacation time. So regardless of how much vacation time is allocated, much of our childhood is spent in school. So why is school important? Well, because it consumes a massive part of our lives from between about the ages of 5 and 18. Now, here, as I said, the third component can be a little bit tricky, but it really doesn't need to be. So you're going to take a look at the question and then just restate it as a sentence. Some people think students should go to school continuously throughout the year. Others disagree. Now you have a couple of options here. You can present both sides of the question that were asked. Some people think students should go to school continuously throughout the year. Others think students should take a long break between school years. Or you can just keep it very simple. Others disagree. So it's entirely up to you. Now, I chose to use the words others disagree because my personal opinion is that students should have a long break between school years, and so I stated that in my fourth component where I presented my answer. So there's no need to be redundant or repetitive. You can just keep it to others disagree and then state that in your fourth, again, most important sentence where you present your answer. So now we have, in my view, children should have a long break between school years for 2 important reasons. Now I wrote children, you can write students. Again, there's no problem with using the same language that's in the question. The most important component of this fourth statement is that you are giving your opinion and you're saying for 2 important reasons. And 2 important reasons is how we transition into our body paragraphs. Because remember that each of your body paragraphs is going to state one of these reasons and give an example to support it. So as you can see, by including these 4 components, we've produced a fairly simple introductory paragraph. It's straight to the point, there's no confusion, it introduces our topic, the importance of our topic, it restates the question, and it introduces our reason. And then of course it transitions very nicely into the body paragraphs. So what I'd like to recommend to you today is that you just do some practice with different questions for the independent writing task and just work on developing a quick introductory paragraph. Hopefully you wrote down that language that was in bold on the previous screen. If not, rewind, pause, write it down. Use that same language each time. Practice converting questions into statements. If you have difficulty locating the topic in the question, then practice scanning for nouns as well to determine what the topic is. But just use this template. You don't have to play around with it too much. You can use this each time, and hopefully over time you can just develop a really fast introductory paragraph without really thinking about it at all, and free up some extra time to really devote to your body paragraphs. So I hope this explanation makes sense to you today. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact us at noteful.com, or you can leave your questions in the comments below. Now, if you're interested in participating in one of our future videos, there's a link to our forum below this video. Each week we put a question on our forum for speaking and writing, and you are more than welcome to record your responses for speaking or practice the independent writing task, and then put your submissions onto the forum. So next week we'll choose something else to review here on YouTube. We only ask that you work on these submissions under actual TOEFL conditions. So for speaking question 1 and 2, 45 seconds on the clock. For the independent writing task, 30 minutes on the clock. So make sure that you're working under actual TOEFL conditions so that we can ensure that the feedback that we provide in this video is as accurate as possible. All right, let us know if you have any questions. Leave your comments below. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you next week.